Committee for September 27th. Call the meeting to order at 6:36 p.m. Everybody's here but Lori Sampson. Hopefully she will join us, but we do have a quorum at this time. So at this time, I would ask that we adopt the agenda.
Adopt agenda.
Okay. Then the next two items of business we have are to approve first the minutes of 9/7/2021 and then the minutes of 9/13/2021. I had completely forgot about the candidate forum, but if nobody has any objections or any comments on either of the minutes, can I get an approval on that? A thumbs up, pretty please.
Thumbs up.
Michael, what do you
Approved.
think?
Yep.
Oh, all right. So the proxy next thing is proxy documents. The board took a look at them. I sent them over to talk to AJ, asked them to please be sent to the attorney, and I haven't seen or heard anything. AJ had a couple of questions he sent me over the weekend, and I answered him. He goes, how is this a directed proxy? Where does it tell them how to vote? And I'm going, in the middle of it, it says, see the opposite side. And he goes, but there's nothing there in the opposite side. I said, it's the ballot, but we didn't have a ballot. You know, we were still looking at that draft document, the final document from Unilect, but I hope that they do that so we can put a decent package together for anybody that asks for proxies. So I'm still waiting to hear, but they've been to the board and the board has approved to send them to the attorney. So that's where we're at with those. Next thing is the registration calendar. So now that I know more than I know, what do I want to say? It looks like they're going to either be mailed on the 1st or worst case scenario, the 4th. We have to send in, it's done usually with a credit card and we send it to the mailer. Unilect is going to, and that's what they did last year, email me invoices, and I have sent AJ a question of who and how do I get somebody to do this credit card thing for the outgoing mail so that we get it done. Because if they put it off, that will put off our mailing. I don't know who on staff has, has credit card privileges and stuff. Last year, our outgoing was, I think, around, I want to say, around, I think it was 1,500, maybe it was 1,758, something like that. It's under 2,000, but postage rates have gone up. But I don't know how much, and I won't, but Unilect said that they would get me those invoices because they realize we have to pay from invoices. But the other one will go to them for the return postage, and we just write them a check and send it off. That's no big deal. The biggie is getting the outgoing mail postage paid, because like I say, the mailer, once they get the stuff, won't take it to the post office until they've got the money to pay for it.
Okay, so who do you send?
I spoke with them today to finalize.
So who are you going to send the credit card number to?
The mailer. When I get an invoice from Unilect, it'll say, this is the mailer. It'll give the instructions for using the credit card and contacting the mailer. And then it's like you do it's done online, but she'll give them the total and everything else that they need for the credit card. I just don't know who still has credit card authority on staff.
Okay, so you get instructions from Unilect on how to pay the mailer, but Unilect gives the mailer everything they need. like,
Yep, and
The ballots.
it's an invoice, but it has all the information on it.
Yeah, it's a mass
That's
mailing
just, I
company.
know. Huh? What did you say?
It's a mass mailing company.
Yep. And it's got a funny name. I remember it isn't the same one we used last year, but it's like it's somebody they use. So am I going to complain? Oh, hell no. You know, if they send out, I bet you hundreds of thousands of documents a year for the different companies. They were just doing a election this weekend.
okay.
You know, they do basically every weekend between now and I think well the first week in January. It's just one right after the other. Yeah. So anyway, we know that they're going to mail. I don't know, and I guess that's going to be a question of if they mail out on the 4th, it's going to take people to usually here it's only a couple of days and they have them by the 6th or 7th. Do we need to count before the 15th? Do we need to register? Does anybody think? I don't know if we'll get the money back. I guess the trick is if we wait, we'll find out if that was a bad thing to do or not.
So I have a question.
Sure.
We're talking about this registration calendar.
Yep.
What are we registering?
When all of the ballots come back, they have to be registered.
So as they come
And
back
we
in
have to-
batches.
Yeah, what
Okay.
we do is, so let's say on Friday, you're my person that's going to be with me the first day that not that you are, but let's say we're going to pretend now scenario.
Okay.
You and I meet upstairs by the front office and we have a box and I have the keys to the ballot box and we open the ballot box and go, oh my goodness, or we go, oh, there's not much in here at all. Sometimes it's packed. Sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah.
But you take those all, you put them in a box. We never do anything by ourselves.
Yep.
And we'll get someone from administration to then let us into the accounting office downstairs because that has a swipe card to let you into. And then we'll be able to get in that closet. Either they'll change the core out or somebody's going to give me a key to that closet I can use. Well, we need to keep our ballots in there. You know,
Okay. Well,
AJ and
I
I did.
understand. Okay.
Go
I
ahead.
understand all that. Yeah. Okay.
So that's what we're going to do is
Yeah.
then we'll take those ballots and then you register them. I have the master registration list all done because that gets made out of our mailing list. And so I've got that all done. And that's where we basically register everybody. I'll bring my laptop or be able to use a laptop down in John's office and a thumb drive to be able to register everybody. And then you just register different days. We still need to have one person from staff, so there will be 3 of us in that room to be able to determine if there are any delinquent owners.
Okay.
Okay.
And then their ballots get put in a separate little envelope so that they don't get mixed in with regular ballots.
Okay.
And sometimes you'll find somebody has forgotten to sign their ballot. And then because their name and division and lot are on there, we can go upstairs and see if they've got a phone number for them, call them, tell them, and let them hold it upstairs, a ballot upstairs for a signature.
Okay.
And then you just kind of note that on the registration list.
Okay, is this registration list like an Excel spreadsheet that you have on
Yep. Yep.
on your thumb drive?
Yep.
Okay,
Sure
so
do.
what we're looking at with the person from staff is just whether or not they're paid up. So we'll
Yes.
just put in a yes in that field.
The only
Whatever
time,
you
yeah,
do.
for a mailed ballot, last year we had zero budget only, but that's because of the pandemic and they couldn't have late charges. They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. So I don't know how that's going to work out because we're going to be mailing out. And then in October now is the first month when, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, didn't we get the notice that said October's the first month where they'll be catching up with people and doing late charges again? I thought that was on the e-blast and stuff about that October 1st, I thought was the first.
That's when they start, is the way I read it. It's not that they're after back charges. That's when they'll start instituting late charges. Did I read that wrong?
I'm not sure. And that I didn't understand that. And I was going to ask the question at the meeting the other night, but it was going long. And I thought, oh, well, if nothing else, we can discuss it when we get down there, because it's possible if they're just going to start, that means the earliest, if they're just going to start, Nancy, and you're correct, that means there isn't going to be anybody that votes a ballot that's going to be budget only, if that's your understanding.
Well, they could have just not paid. It's not, it's
Yeah,
money.
I'll confirm it, but I'm saying otherwise that would make our life much easier.
See what the deal is.
Because then there might be no need for that staff person. If indeed the earliest anybody's going to get a late notice is October 31st or something like that, you might have the very tail end of your, you know what I'm saying? You would only have, you'd have 5 days where you could possibly have people that would not be current, right? Those first due days.
What
we will.
Doing.
You're right. Anyway, that would make our lives a whole lot easier. Steve?
Is there any grace period with the dues?
I think 30 days you get a late notice, but you're not considered delinquent until after 60? Is that right?
So if that's the case, it wouldn't matter, right?
Yeah. I think you get a late notice, but I think delinquencies are 60 days. I don't think it's 30 days, but I'm not positive.
I also checked our website, the announcement page, to see if we actually had that listed, and it doesn't reference it yet.
Okay. So anyway, I don't know. I selected Tuesdays and Fridays just because it's nice to clean. I don't like leaving the ballot box over the weekend for, just with maybe ballots in it from the middle of the week before. I always like to try and clean it out, and I'll either do it on a Thursday or a Friday. Since we have Unelect collecting, we used to do it on Thursday. And when we did it in-house, it was in order to be able to give an accurate number to the people counting, because the ballots used to go over to the counting room at noon on Friday. And now, because we simply collect them all, we're not going to do it. We can go clear up to that Friday. When we do it on Friday, we will have to do it after 4:30, and we will have to get a staffer to let us in. In the past, I have asked security, but I don't know how that's going to work this year. I usually have someone from security take the ballots over to the MPR, the multipurpose room where we count, and lock them in that closet. And so that's kind of what I usually do, but we'll have to see. I know they made an announcement at our last board meeting that right now we simply have temp officers. But it would be nice if they would take the cases and we could join them, because I found out for sure. I used to wonder, because people used to wonder if that closet down there really had the only key. Well, Lauren, and you guys, some of you were with me that day, and Lauren had a master key and she thought she could get in. She can't. It is an only key.
Yeah, would it be would it be easier if we did Fridays at noon, because then the office would still be open?
We
could
still
do
have
it.
to give, we still have to, we could, you still have to register those that are available to be there until 4:30. Because it closes at 4:30 on Friday. Mail-in ballots.
Oh, on the last Friday, yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
thought you
last,
were-
but no, the
thought you
last
were
Friday.
talking about
Any
all
other
those other.
Friday, any other day of the week, we can do it in the middle of the day. Doesn't make any difference to me. I'm,
Okay. I realized that Friday before the AGM, yeah, it's 4:30.
That's
But
Hi,
the
November,
other
Lori.
Fridays, hi, Lori.
that's November 5th. That one has to be lasted till 4:30.
yeah,
Right.
that one has to be, and it's why I put it in red too. That has to be done after 4:30.
Probably would have helped if I'd have print mine in color then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just printed it out so I could see it. I didn't see it had to be in color. All right.
That's okay. So my
Tuesday-
question is, are
Tuesdays and
Tuesdays,
Fridays work for me.
Fridays work for you?
Tuesday, I can fit Tuesdays and Fridays in October for me.
Oh,
So-
excellent.
Whatever
So
one.
all I need you guys to do is fight it out amongst each other then. I don't know what, time, like I say, I'm free. I will make myself free those days. I have to be. I have the keys to open and unlock everything and get the ballots out and everything else. When you're the chair of entity, Nancy, get ready. That's going to be your little chore in life.
I have lots of little
So I'll
chores. I'll take-
volunteer to help you on Tuesdays. And if you want to do them about 2 or 3 o'clock, I'll just pencil it in on Tuesdays.
So does anybody object to that? Because otherwise I can let him have those Tuesdays.
Yeah, I'd like to do Friday the 15th just to see what's going on.
Okay, so we're going to put Nancy in there. You're going to give me a time, Nancy?
On Friday,
Yeah, the 15th. What time?
after lunch, we'll say 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock works.
Is that enough time, do you think, to have the admin people still there and be able to do what?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll let us in. You know what I want to say, though? Let's do one. Because usually the first
Okay.
time is kind of weird because you're learning out, you're setting up for the first time and figuring out how that's all going to work because it's way different than we did it before. Because a lot of the stuff is gone from down there. But I always make sure that I have a thumb drive, but that it also goes on the H drive so that the association has a copy of the registration and then we have a copy. And then every time we register, we update it with the date we register on.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll show up at 1 on the 15th. It might
Okay,
be-
sounds. So Michael, you're gonna do, it looks like the 19th of Tuesday. What time? You want to do it either at 2:30?
I'll do the 19th. The 26th and the 2nd, all at 2:30.
At
Oh, wow.
2:30, okay. Is that okay? Nobody's gonna complain here, are they?
I'll fight you for it. Come on.
I can
So
take the.
I have,
We'll arm wrestle for it.
I can
I
do
have
it.
two.
I'm not
The
working.
one that's gonna be
so-
hard is the last one we do, because we have to wait till the end of day. And we're just gonna have to, somebody on staff is just gonna have to be paid overtime.
Yeah, so I can do the last one because that's going to work probably best with my schedule with work and whatnot. But I'll also take the 22nd.
That works for me.
I'll do the 29th.
You will take the 22nd?
Yeah.
And Nancy will do the 29th. So what time on the 22nd, Steve?
I mean, it sounds like we're doing 2 for the other ones, so I'll figure out how to make it work.
We'll be able to do it then. We'll be able to do it then.
I mean,
It's
if
just
we
that
did
first
it at,
setup is is ugly.
Yeah, I just don't want to
If
make
I get
anyone
lucky-
have to do OT.
Okay, do you
Yeah,
want
I
to
hear
make
you. Well,
mine on the,
you want to do 1 or 2 on the 29th, Nancy?
let's put down 2 because it looks like they're all 2
Okay.
except for that first time and the last.
Yeah,
time.
and because it's surprising how quick it went this last time. You would not believe the difference it makes in having all that pre-printed stuff in the corner so that you're not trying to guess, is that a 5 or a 2? Is it an 8 or a 3? Is it, and you spend so much time just trying to confirm it. And the way the way that the registration master is set up is we can just do it by division and lot, put them in order and like all the division ones for, whatever, or we can do it by last names too. Doesn't make any difference. It can be sorted either way. You had a question, Michael?
So you have me down for all 3 Tuesdays at 2:30.
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure what I wrote down. So, all right.
Absolutely. And another reason, Nancy, is I have you come early is I realize now if they mail out in the 1st, nothing will happen. It'll still hit I don't see us getting them even in Sudden Valley here any earlier than the 6th.
Yeah.
And that means it gets in people's mailboxes. And then if they decide to put them in ours, hopefully they will take the opportunity to mail them back again. I have an article I need to get ready for the October views and put in there and add something about proxies in there, but I put something before in there, but I know more. Didn't have before as to when Unilect was expecting to mail out.
I have something
So-
about proxies, though. I don't think we should hand out proxies with a copy of the ballot on the back before the general population gets their ballot. Because it's like we're giving people who ask for a proxy kind of an early ballot. And I think everybody should get a ballot together.
Well, remember we had to pick a date.
Right,
So that,
right.
yeah.
So we can just sit, if they send in a request on the 1st of October, we just can't fill it until
That
the
works for me.
ballots
That
are
works for me.
distributed.
That works for me just fine.
I
That
thought
works.
the proxy was for a on the floor vote.
Yep.
So they don't need it ahead of time.
Well, it's to get
Right.
it, how do I say it? It's to have the person that wants the proxy to fill it out and get it notarized, then give it to the person that they give to be their agent or their
Yes.
designated.
Yes.
And then they need to get it, then they need to submit it. And then we need to acknowledge that and give them a receipt back.
But they won't present them until the day of in person, that Saturday, whatever.
No,
that
we
is.
will, no, we'll have their proxy.
Okay,
They're gonna have to make a copy. They're gonna be then, that's maybe something that they're gonna have to have a copy of how they agreed to vote, because the one thing that's the notary by the representatives, that says that you understand and will obey by the document that you're signing, that's what you're gonna do.
yes.
And we may have to work through that with people. I don't have an issue with that at all.
Okay.
It's just, that's one of the beauties of proxies. They're just
Steve has a
pain.
question.
They're a boon that just time has lost its thrill for me, let me tell you. But I hear what you're saying, Nancy.
So
Because,
Steve
it's
has
just
a question.
because what's going to happen is we're going to give them a receipt for their proxy. We have to retain the proxy. That used to be the voting materials that were retained when back in the day, is you retain that proxy. Then they bring in the receipt and you're going to say, oops, yes, this person had a proxy. Here's the receipt. You're going to send them over to Unilect and they will give them a ballot. I'm tempted, but I need to ask Unilect what they want to do. Like I said, last year, they did a pink ballot for our in-person, but we want to make sure that nobody that has a proxy, if there are any, puts them in the ballot box downstairs. They have to take them with it. And we will then know, how many purple ones did I put out? How many do I have to wait to come back? And I will ask about that because I think it's a way to know what's being done, but I don't want anybody putting a proxy one in the ballot box downstairs. They're not supposed to do that.
It's void if they do.
Huh?
It's void if they do. Steve gave up and muted it himself.
I mean,
What
well,
can I
also,
say?
we kind of moved on to another topic, and I still had questions about the previous topic before we moved on to something else.
Yeah.
I know that Nancy and Michael and I stole all the dates for us to go and do ballots. I wasn't sure if Lori wanted one or not. Okay.
Lori, you can be there on Saturday though for in-person and the AGM. Okay. I
And you
think
want
Lori's,
all of us, you want all of us there on Saturday.
oh yeah, definitely
Okay.
all of us there on Saturday.
And on the 8th for certification.
That's what I was going to ask about, and it's part of the calendar. So usually we try to do, I do not know this year when the board plans on having their first board meeting. Normally, if they stay on the current schedule, it will be the 11th, the second Thursday of November. And that would be nice because then it would be all done and over with. You know, because I think, and I need to look at the NNE manual and see what it says. I think we all do certification together, and then I send the documents over to the new chair, who we will have by then, and that's up to you guys to fit that in on the day of the AGM. But I think then the new chair of NNE presents the certification to the board if they do meet on the 11th. I just don't know when their first time is. They haven't set a date.
So Linda, you put the agenda in to be posted for that first NNE meeting where we select a chair, and the board will have to put in their agenda for their first meeting the day of the AGM when they select a president.
If they do or if they wait. Last year we were going to do it the first day and somebody was going to be gone or something, and we wait. I thought there was one year maybe I'm dreaming.
We waited because last year the previous president didn't put in the agenda.
Oh.
And you need, 48 hours. He just didn't do it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But that's their agenda for their organization. You will get to be there, and you at least will have to do the election of the president. Hopefully, whoever is the president then will take up your spot and do the rest of the execs and the rest of the meeting. However, there was one year when Larry Brown go ahead, Linda, just go ahead and do the rest of the, and whether they will do, you'll maybe have to talk to them and find out if they're going to do a private ballot with little slips of paper, or if they are going to just, if they've decided themselves that there's only going to be one candidate for the execs. Each of them. I don't know. It's just, you have to be prepared. Because whatever you aren't prepared for is what they will do. I kind of asked last year, sort of, to be ahead of the game, and it's just sometimes it's kind of nice when they can wait a day almost or so, but it's hard to not have a board either. But I think the current execs exist in case anything comes up, should they? Because I think it's in the bylaws, they can wait up to 10 days.
Oh, I don't remember.
Don't either. But anyway, but if we could do that 8th of November and do the certification, that just at a regular 6:30 meeting for us that day, can everybody make that?
You're talking about the 8th.
Is it the 8th? The 8th, you're right. I can't read. It's because the time, this calendar is tiny. Linda, learn to make your font larger. Yeah,
that-
for the
that is
AGM.
the- That will be in person or on Zoom.
I haven't, none of the other committees, I think Zoom, none of the other committees have gone to rooms yet. And I just, this whole thing with the AGM, if not for proxies, I think we'd be having that on Zoom, but we had to change.
So we
You
will
know?
do that. We will do the 8th on Zoom.
Yes,
Okay, back up a notch. On the 6th of the AGM, we all have to be there at what time?
8 a.m., please.
Oh my goodness.
That's usually when Unilec shows up and they are very prompt.
Okay,
I'm gonna see if I can somehow get some tables. They set up in the multi-purpose room. I don't know if you watched you may want to, there's a video of what it looks like when they set up in the multi-purpose room that should be, I think, on last year's AGM to show the voting. But it's just Andrew sets up and there's one long set of tables along the far wall of the room. And it's just a whole process. And it's just, he sets up there. I want to try and go tomorrow to take a look at that, because the last time we were all in there, there were rowing machines in there and gym equipment.
that's the room that's at the end of the hall from the bathrooms.
Yep.
Okay,
But because that's where our closet is to lock stuff up in, and we're going to have to do that before they leave. Last year, they had to leave at a real specific time. They had to catch a plane because they had another election. This year, it's not such a quick, I have to drive to Seattle and be on a plane in an hour and a half. It's a challenge. But we have our people that are going to help open envelopes and stuff. So I'm waiting to see in October. I'll ask Unilect what time they want them to come. I don't know. I know usually when the first thing they do is Andrew will set up all of his stuff. He'll then run tests on the equipment. He then will take all of our ballots that we have, and he has already scanned the ones they've received. He will add ours, and he will then give us a magic number. And hopefully that's the magic number that I go, yes, that's true. Because they send us lists periodically that we add to our registration list, so that we're kind of working in flux with each other, that we both have the same sort of numbers and we're expecting these sort of things. It all depends. Sometimes they have a lot, sometimes they don't. Yes, Michael.
on volunteers, you have enough people?
I have 3, and I asked them, and they think that's enough.
Okay, because I ran into Jerry Pate and I talked to him, and he said he would be more than willing to volunteer to help, but I didn't know what he had to do that. And he's getting old and he's got arthritis and he's not moving as well. But he said he'd love to help. So I didn't know if
I
there
think
was-
3 are enough, because Andrew, a lot of times they have a high-speed opener that goes faster than greased lightning to open the envelopes. And they have, that's the outer envelopes and then those inner envelopes. But it's like, it's just a matter of getting those. it goes really quick. Sometimes he'll just do that, but I know he sets up all the machines. He adds all our ballots until they have all of our ballots there. They usually go then in sets of 25. And it's kind of weird because that's how we used to do it when we counted on our own. It was just sort of strange to see that, but that's how they do it. But it's a method they use, and it's kind of interesting how much it's much like our own system.
So if he came or wanted to help, it's always nice to have more help than you really need.
That's true.
Does he need to do anything?
He needs to fill out an online form for to volunteer. Michael, I'll send you instructions because without being able to look at the front page, I can't tell you exactly where you go and what you do.
Okay,
But it's real simple, and then
Right.
somebody in the office will vet it. I would do it sooner rather than later
okay,
because Lauren's been handling that for me. And I just want to make sure that that gets vetted and it doesn't get dropped in a bucket somewhere.
okay. Okay, if you'll send me that
I will,
link.
because that would give me for, I know there's a husband and wife that volunteered, and since they're just opening envelopes, they're not counting, doesn't make any difference. I can put Gail Chiarillo, who's the other person that volunteered, in between the two of them, and we should live happily ever after.
So just to interject here, that link, it's in the left-hand sidebar, about 3/4 of the way down the page. It's just volunteer opportunities. So just suddenvalley.com, left-hand side, 3/4 of the way down, volunteer opportunities. It's the next to last bullet point.
All right,
And then it'll ask him to fill it out with his name, his division
Yeah.
and lot or whatever. And then there's a list of the chairs of the committees of what you want to volunteer for. He selects N and E, it's got my email, and then it comes to me.
all right,
But if he does that, it should be a slam dunk here.
all right.
Just give me a heads up if he does do it,
Yep.
because then I need to make sure that everybody's following up with me and sending me the
Yep.
information.
Yep.
Because that's kind of what happened before, is people were sitting out there in no man's land. Nancy?
I'm under the impression that we're going to have a hybrid Zoom in-person AGM. So there'll be a Zoom component for people who want to join
Yes.
via Zoom, and there'll be a floor component for people who want to walk in the barn.
So that
Yes.
should give us our quorum very easily.
Well, but it doesn't, here's the problem, and that's the interesting thing. Nancy and I have been having a debate back and forth, is the bylaws say it has to be people in person. There will need to be two of you, because I'm going to end up downstairs. There's going to end up be up two of you that have to register when people come into the meeting. And usually when they ask if there's a quorum, then from your registration sheets, you will know if there are 50 eligible members. That's the other thing that I hate about the way our bylaws are written.
Oh, they're
So-
confusing. But
Yes.
the thing is, it's still the number on the floor plus the number on Zoom.
But
If
that's online.
So you can participate in the meeting. If you have registered to be and part of the Zoom like they did last year.
They
you
didn't
can make
register. I don't know that they registered last year. I never.
Yeah, they did.
I
they-
never registered anybody on Zoom. You'd have to ask John about that.
They counted the number of members logged in through the member portal. That was 60 people, 60 logins. Then there was a debate because Andrew Etrican, the president, said that, well, we don't know how many members that is, so we don't have a quorum. And then they got point of order by AJ and
Yeah.
Sonia and a couple other people that beat me to the raise hand.
So what did
function.
Ann say? I missed all of that. I get to miss
They-
all the juicy parts.
Andrew said no. And then more people went point of order and wanted to appeal it. And Ann whispered to him and he said, okay, it's a quorum.
Okay,
That-
I'm just saying from, and that was because we were in the middle of pandemic and we had all that authority from the governor. We don't have that authority this year.
It's still, you're participating in the meeting. You can speak, you can raise your hand, you can hear, you can do everything like we're doing right now.
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying, last year we had all those authorities, and when I've kind of brought that up before, everybody's going, we don't have that authority anymore. It's like, all right, I'll shut up.
We don't make that decision. I think I sent that statement
did.
from Robert's Rules
Yeah.
of Order, that it is the presiding officer of the AGM who decides if there's a quorum.
But then you got our bylaws that say it's got to be 50 members in person. I want to
And
read
you
you something.
are in person. It also lists that, if you have an electronic meeting where people can participate.
I'll go look. I'm just saying, I didn't know. I'm not sure if that's in that new law or not. I want to read you something interesting though, Nancy. So I have some really old bylaws. You know what it used to say in the quorum section? Ready for this? A quorum shall be the presence in person or by proxy of 50 eligible members shall constitute a quorum at all meetings provided, however, that the presence in person, by proxy, or by absentee ballot.
I wonder why they changed it.
And I don't know, but they took somewhere between now and back in 2005, and maybe they did away with it when they went to mail-in ballots because they didn't know that mail-in ballots are absentee ballots. I don't know. It's just interesting. That's all.
Yeah, well, from what I read it, if the presiding officer wants to call the sum of the people on the floor and the people on the Zoom meeting participating, counting towards a quorum, he can.
It's just
And it
we'll have
was
to-
done before, and so it kind of has set a precedent whether we have that authority or not.
Go ahead, Steve.
Sorry for interrupting here, but I'm a little lost on where we're at on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're sitting here with this whole proxy thing and registration, because registration has to do with registering people one way or the other. But anyway, with the so if we're going to do certification, the next thing after the calendar, we're going to move to number 8, because you're all going to have to look at your calendar for that. It says that our next meeting is scheduled to be on October 25th. I don't know that we need to meet then. I think we should maybe cancel that meeting and just have them change it to the November 8th for certification. Ooh, and I have to do another one for you want to do one also, don't you, Nancy, for your entity, the committee, right?
Oh, you mean the day of the
New
AGM?
officers, yeah. I'm just looking at when things have to happen, because you guys really need to meet those 2 times.
The 2 times being the day of the AGM after the AGM is
After the
finished,
AGM,
and the 8th,
and then the 8th for certification.
yes.
Lori, you won't be here because you're done as of the AGM. I'm sorry.
So
I'll
can't
make
we-
you work up until then, but then you're done.
can't we do our business as the NNE and get it all completed on the 8th?
It depends on if the board wants to meet, because the chair
Oh,
of the
yeah.
entity has to whatever.
The chair of
do the-
entity has to at least open that organizational meeting
Yeah,
and has to take the balloting or the election of the board president. After
right.
that happens, then the board president can take over the rest of the meeting, but otherwise the chair of entity is the presiding, is the sort of a temporary presiding officer at that organizational meeting.
So
Because
it really
you've already had your election amongst the three of you as to who's going to be your chair. So that's the only real organization that's taken place amongst committees.
it wouldn't be very long, and it would be immediately after the AGM. Because it's a one-item agenda.
Yep.
Elect chair.
Well, it's two really. You need a chair and a secretary.
Oh, right.
That's all. But you still need an agenda to make it legit.
Yep.
Yep. So what I would say is that we will ask to have our meeting on the 25th canceled. And then I'm going to ask them to put something on for November 3rd, which will be the 2022 Entity Committee Organizational Meeting.
Not the third,
The 5th, I'm sorry, I'm looking
the
at the wrong.
6th.
The 6th, geez. My brain is going fried here. On the 6th, do you want to call it do we want to call it organization, or do you want to say a 2022 Entity Committee Election of Officers?
Whichever you feel like putting down.
Okay,
I
I'll
don't
see what
think
I'll see what my other ones say. I'm
Whatever
just
you
gonna
did
do a
last
copy,
year.
cut and paste here. Okay, but those are the meetings to me, the 6th and the 8th we need to have. We don't really have anything on the 25th, do we?
Not really.
Okay,
So on the 6th, that meeting is going to be the AGM election of officers.
yeah, and the
Board
three of you will
officers.
get together in a little corner somewhere. You'll call you, if you want, I can be there, call you to order, because I'm gonna be there still,
Yeah,
and then let you do your thing.
okay.
And
you
all
know.
we have to do is elect the chair.
Yeah, but you
Then the
really
rest
should have
of
a
the
secretary.
entity can go away. I mean, you don't have to stay, just the
Yeah.
chair then has to start the board organization.
Oh, I know,
meeting.
but you really should decide who your secretary is gonna be too. Because,
Okay.
that's really, look how much work you've had to do. And next year, you know what? Whoever's secretary, you're gonna have a lot of work. Warning, warning. So anyway, that's done. So number 9 is the page I have here for AGM committee tasks. And I just on there, I'm going to see, I want to meet with Rec. Sam has no idea how much things are taken over downstairs and upstairs by an AGM. He's never been through one of these. And so, I'm going to have to tell him, that we're going to take over part of down there, I know that somebody has scheduled the multipurpose room. I will check with Lauren again, because I believe Deanna did it, and she had us also over in the adult center, which is, no, I just need the multipurpose room down there. And somebody from the board has to reserve the dance barn. That's not me. But, they should make arrangements for that. with somebody because maintenance usually they set up all the chairs, they set up all the tables. John's gonna have to set up, I don't know how they're gonna, I'm assuming if they're gonna do Zoom or from the thing, they're gonna have to have a setup like when we used to have live board meetings
Yeah.
where there's the camera and you go to the podium to speak, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, so that's all gonna be done and they're gonna have to spread the chairs out to socially distance. Oh, something we're gonna have to do for voting downstairs on the day of, and I have it in red, number one, we're going to have to get masks and they're gonna be required. And if people come in without one, they're going to have to wear a mask if they intend to vote in person. You know, I'm sorry, right now, that's the law of the land. You know, I don't anticipate that getting any better, but maybe it will by then. If it changes to where they say, no, no big deal, no masks, then I don't care. I'll be
I
wearing a
do.
mask.
I want
I
a
know.
mask.
I know, I understand. We all do. We all look like a holdup gang there when we did the candidate forum. But anyway, that was the thing, is we need to make sure that we have masks. And I just need to get a box from somebody to give me some, or we'll buy one. They're not that expensive. To
I
just
think I
have some
have
and
I
everything.
think I have a box of them. Either here or in the library room. I can bring you a box of them.
I have some too left over from last year because Rachel just goes, here, take all this stuff.
Yeah, okay.
We had gloves and everything else. So anyway, please plan on arriving at 8 a.m. If you need to arrive later, just let me know. You know, if you can't, you know, it's just, we start, they'll be here. They have to print out lists and everything else in order for them to register people on, because they can't create the list until after they have all of our mail-in ballots scanned to know if someone's voted a ballot or not, because the list tells them who can vote and who can't. And so they handle all that. We'll have our own little registration thing where people will sign by, I don't know if any of you have voted in person. You come in and you give people your division and lot and your name, and then we look and go, nope, no mail-in ballot. They're going to mail in person. Then you put a little X by I'm going to mail in. This is in-person voting. And then you send them, they have a thing where they sign their name, they put their division and lot. It's like just a hand sheet that they sign that gives their name, division and lot, and then their signature. And it's usually, if you own multiple lots, you have to sign multiple times. Don't go, no, I want 5 and sign your name once. That don't work. That screws things up bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, you do that, then so we still have to have members sign in and get vetted by us. And we'll have a list we'll have the list that we use the last day of registration, the 5th. We can use that one. Plus, Gil is there that day. He's always there because if somebody is not current in their dues and wants to bring their dues current, he sits there all that time, and usually nobody comes and visits him, but every now and then somebody will pay up their dues. But Gil is normally there that day too, in case we need any more confirmation about somebody.
And that's at the little table coming in the door.
Yep.
Yep.
So anyway, the main room control, we're going to have to see. I want to kind of control it, and I'll have to see what Sam has available down there, number 4, because really when people sit down at a table to vote, we really should, before somebody else goes there, it should be wiped down. It should be sanitized just with a Clorox cloth, if nothing else, one of those disposable, pop it up, wipe it off. That's what we did. We had a thing last year that was a spray bottle, and we really went over the top. I don't think over the top is necessary, but I think we should wipe down each place that somebody votes at.
Okay.
And I'd like to limit it. You know, if we have one of those big tables, like let's say one of those big 8 foot or 6 foot tables. Before, when we had people vote, we were limited by the number of people that could be in a room. And we just put somebody at each end of that table. We probably could put somebody at each end of that table and then 2 in the middle at the, on the short side, so that you could have 4 at a time voting. But we definitely should keep control of that so that people are able to distance, so that we don't get people real close. Unelect last time, and I will have to ask Catherine, she normally does not want people to go out the same door that they came in, which is strange to me, but it's just something they have, and I'm sure there's a reason for it. And we ended up opening that emergency door that's at the bottom of the stairway there for people to exit from. And it's just setting that up. I'll have to ask her about that, but I'll make some requests about that ahead of time. Then number 5 is just, we have those people already scheduled that are willing to help open envelopes. And some of the time I'll go back there and see, do they need anything, otherwise, usually one of us keeps an eye on the ballot box. I'm going to ask Stephen, I'm going to ask John, the IT, to set up a camera in the NPR for ballot counting. And we're not going to go from the very beginning of it all because it went so long. And there's times when Andrew does stuff in there and sets up and that sort of thing. That's just him, nothing's really happening. Nobody's opening the envelopes or anything else. We don't need sound. I just, it's just so people can be there for the counting and when they begin opening envelopes. I'll ask him when they want the counters, and when they come in, even one of us could activate the camera. Last year, and I don't know where John will be this year, he and Rachel were both back in that office in the rec center behind the door and worked from there. But whether he'll do that again, but we should at least get the camera set up so that we can offer the video of the counting. Lunch break's going to be at the close of in-person voting. There'll be sandwiches, snacks, beverages provided. Does anybody have any dietary requests?
I can't eat beef.
That works. Hey, it's all going to be turkey and chicken. No. But I usually try and get beverages, water, some kind of, a diet drink, a regular drink. I put out a really nice feed last year, if I may say so myself. Then, so we'll be done at 12:30 with in-person voting. And then I'm going to have 2 committee members. We're going to have to have a table set up right by the door where people come in up above. I don't know. And I don't know how to handle this. Last year, when we've done it in the past, people normally don't come from downstairs, upstairs, but we may need to remind people to register if you see somebody come in that comes up the down staircase there from downstairs, to maybe make sure you've got them in your numbers. I don't think there's going to be that many people, but I don't know, but it's to keep track of that, so that, because then part of that count for quorum will come from you, whoever is up there registering. Yes, Michael.
I'll volunteer to be upstairs at the door. I've been there before and have signed in, so I know what you're expecting.
Okay. I need another volunteer. Steve? Okay.
Sure, I'll do it.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Then we're going to have John, and I don't know how we do this, and maybe John will just send a message to AJ. but they'll need a tally of the number of the members joining online when they ask for quorum, and it'll kind of have to be coordinated. I don't know at that time if the president is the presiding officer or if it is still the parliamentarian. I don't remember. I think it's the parliamentarian. I would have to
I
look at a
don't think
script.
so.
I don't remember. I'll be honest, but I know there's at some point in time, because they ask for a quorum, then they will, then they ask for the proof of service that the ballots got mailed out. And lately I've just been using, a postal, you get a postal report from the mailing company. And I simply give that a copy of that, and it's also part of our final documents to the board. I give that a copy of that to the secretary so she can hold it up and say, I have a postal report here of the mailing on such and such a date of the envelopes and the ballots for the election. So that's done by the secretary of the board. Then you guys that are doing registration, we'll know. This is going to be a tough one. Somebody's going to have to help me through this. There's always floor voting. So we have boxes downstairs that people can put their ballots in. And sometimes we're still just going to have to bite the bullet because some people may still come and hold their ballots up that are mailed ballots, and we have to accept them, and you just have to smile and say thank you. And they will come downstairs and they will be invalidated. Now, if there's proxies to be voted, or if there are, people can also take their in-person ballots that they get the day of and go vote them upstairs. But we should know how many of them there are. So you'll know I'm going to have 3 purples and 4 pinks or whatever color. I don't know what color
Yeah.
they're going to use, but you'll know how many you're waiting for, if any. Well, you have to. If we have proxies, you will be waiting no matter what.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, it's just, I'll have boxes there so that when they go through the voting, if you look, and I will send you all a copy of we should keep a copy of the agenda because it talks in there about there's the first measure, which is the budget. They go over it. Then there's discussion. Then they say, and now it's time to vote. And they say, if you would please vote approve or disapprove of the budget. And they wait a couple minutes and they say measure 2. And they go through that, and there's always a little pause for the people to vote their ballots. And usually the president says, once the discussion is done, then it's, would you please vote your ballots, tick, 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 and then move on to the next measure. So that's kind of how it goes through. So you'll have time. Then when they're all done with everything, and before they move on to the next order of business, they ask anybody who has a ballot that they voted from the floor to please raise their hand, and people will. And then you'll come around with those boxes, and they will put their ballots in those boxes. And you will then bring them downstairs right away when everybody's been all accounted for. And then that's when they first get counted or disqualified. It depends.
And so we
Sad
don't,
but true.
we just
Go
take
ahead,
them.
Nancy.
Now, go ahead, Michael.
Oh, no, I was just saying, we just take their vote and it all gets vetted.
Yep, and you just say thank you, and it all
Thank
gets,
you.
and
There you
you
go.
take it downstairs, and we
Yep.
sort through it. What's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at section 8 of our bylaws. I think it's article 2. It says under conduct of meetings, the president or his or her designee shall preside over all meetings of the association. The parliamentarian, it says later, the association shall have a parliamentarian who is not a member of the association present at any meetings of the association where a vote of the membership may be taken. So the president presides according to the bylaws
Yeah.
and according to Roberts.
we've always, since I've ever been here in Sudden Valley, it's always been the parliamentarian starts and then turns it over. And I don't know why.
Neither
I
do
have no idea why, but that's always been the way they do it.
Well,
Otherwise, there would be no reason to have a parliamentarian.
you have to have her there,
Yeah.
present. She doesn't have to do anything unless asked.
Well, that I guess that's up to them. I ain't gonna be up there, so I ain't gonna worry about it.
Yeah,
I probably won't even get to see that part of the meeting. So we'll see what we see. But anyway, other than that, then there's always afterwards, there's the cleanup afterwards, all of the return envelopes with signatures on them are returned to one of those locked gun cases and put in there. There's also every single ballot, proxy, whatever will go in those cases and be saved. There are sometimes, and none of you have seen this, and I just saw it last year, when they open some of the envelopes, the ballots can get torn. If it's just a little tear, you can fix it with Scotch tape. But if it's enough that the machine can't read it, you then duplicate a vote. It's like you take the one that's all in pieces, but that it's going to be two members. So going to be somebody down there with me. Two members of N and E will sit down there and we sit on one side of the table and Unilect sits on the other. We have the original torn ballot and they have the one that they have to duplicate. They each have a number. There's one that this is the number of this ballot and here's the duplicate. Then those are stapled together, but no. Then the other one is put in a pile, and then the one that can be read by the machine is then kept by them so they can read it. But you find out which ones you have to duplicate, and you have trails of all this stuff. Sounds kind of complicated, but it works. I think it's why there were so many questions with the national election, because they saw people filling out forms. Sometimes if they're ripped when they get opened by their same thing. But two people sit together and say, this is what this ballot says, and this is the duplicate made from it. So anyway, there's that process to go through. We didn't have too many. I think there might have been 25 altogether out of 1,800, I think we had last year. But it all depends upon the counter and how quick the opener is and how well the ballots are in the envelopes. You'll see that when we register. But it's just, we'll get a final total. I think it'll go much quicker and much better than it did last year. Much better. But we'll have to clean up and we'll have to lock up all of the stuff, because then we'll get a document, which is really they put it along with, we get a thing that tells us what all the counts are on all the measures, on all the candidates, everything else, how many yeses, how many noes, all the percentages are already there. And there's a document they give us with all of that has a certified stamp on it that says if there's a problem with this, we will take care of it.
Okay.
So I think we're just, we're all done. You kind of work the whole time you're down there when envelopes are being opened and stuff, filling the gun cases. But it's just to make sure that they all get locked and put away. About the only thing, I may throw that in there too, and we'll see if we can get the MPR for when we have to certify, and we may do, well, no, we can't. I have enough to keep it because we're going to have to do it by a Zoom meeting. Never mind. I have my own answer here.
Okay.
of what I need to collect. So I think everything should be over and done with. I don't have anything. We've already talked about your election of 2022 officers and the certification. So we've got those dates set.
Yep.
So, and to get, nothing else, I may even do the agendas early and just have somebody throw them up there. If they're on, it doesn't make any difference. It's just to get them up there. And it is
Okay.
what it is. Well, folks, it is 7:46.
I have a question, Linda.
Okay.
I'd like to know if people have asked for a proxy. I mean, I know they're going to come to you, but I'm curious, how many proxies are going to be out there? So could you just kind of give us, let us, the committee know, okay, 2 people asked this week for proxies.
I will. Every time we count, how's this for a deal? Every time we count, we find out where the proxies are at.
Okay. Okay.
Does that work?
Simple.
Yeah.
Because actually we're going to have to find a place. There goes my cat. We're going to, because she wants to go outside, but she doesn't know that it's raining out hard yet. But anyway, no, you can't be up here. But anyway, sorry, folks. It's just, we have to keep them. So you're going to know that they're there because we're going to have to keep those originals segregated from the mail-in ballots, but still have them to keep track of and have the copies of.
Okay.
Okay.
So works
I make a
works.
motion, we adjourn.
at